This is a portrait of a Stoic man. He's been described as serene, calm, imperturbable, unshakable, but most of all, free. And we're gonna try and find out how to be like him today. And let's start off with the elephant in the room. What do you think when you hear the word Stoic? For me, it's always been an image of someone who's impassive, unfeeling, and just kind of generally not that interesting. But trust me, this couldn't be further from the truth. There are millions of people today who identify themselves as Stoics, as practitioners of Stoic philosophy. They read books about it, they attend events and even take courses on it. And I think this is because there is a lot of things about Stoicism that we can apply directly to our lives today, especially when it comes to overcoming adversity and finding happiness in a world that seems intent on making us miserable. In fact, there's one exercise that I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and it is something that anyone can do to help them become more resilient. It's called voluntary discomfort. You see, the Stoics believe that we should constantly strive to make ourselves better, not just by doing things that feel good, but also by doing things that are difficult and uncomfortable. It's this idea that if you want to be strong, you shouldn't only train yourself physically, but mentally as well. It's one thing to expose yourself to cold water once in a while, but it's another thing entirely to live your life expecting that everything will always be warm and comfortable. Marcus Aurelius says, "He who is not satisfied with what he has is never satisfied." So instead, the Stoics believe that we should always try to do things that are just beyond our current level of ability. That way we're always growing and becoming stronger. For example, every morning I go for a run, but recently I've been trying to push myself harder and harder. Every time I go, I try to beat my previous time or distance, but I've noticed that recently I've reached a plateau and I just can't seem to get any faster. So starting next week, I'm going to start waking up at 6 a.m. for a run. It's going to be tough, but that's the whole point. By pushing myself physically, I'm also training my mind to be more resilient. So I challenge you to do the same thing. Find something that's challenging for you and then do it anyway. If you're not used to exercising, maybe it's getting up early in the morning or running in the rain. Maybe it's reading a book on a topic that's difficult for you, or having a conversation with someone who has a different opinion than you. Whatever it is, do it anyway. Now, you might be wondering why I'm sharing all of this personal information with you guys, but the truth is that I'm doing it to hold myself accountable. I'm not sure how many of you have ever made New Year's resolutions before, but one of the hardest things about setting goals is actually sticking to them. That's why I am asking you guys to do the same thing and share your progress with each other. We can help keep each other accountable and motivated. But enough about voluntary discomfort. Let's talk about why external sources of happiness always fail. I remember a few years ago when I was dating my now wife, we were watching the news one night, and there was this story about a woman who had won the lottery and then lost all of her money within a few years. It really shocked me at the time because I thought, how could someone be so lucky and then just throw it all away? Well, it turns out that this is actually more common than you might think. There are countless stories of lottery winners who lose all their money, celebrities who earn millions of dollars and then go bankrupt, and politicians who have everything handed to them and then end up in prison. In fact, studies have shown that children who are born into wealthy families are no happier than those who are UNT, and that's despite having access to all the material things that money can buy. So what does this tell us? Well, it means that external sources of happiness always fail because happiness is something that we have to generate ourselves. It's not something that can be bought or forced. I mean, think about it. How many times have you seen a beautiful sunset and felt happy? Or how many times have you laughed and felt like everything in your life was perfect right at that moment? The Stoics believed that true happiness came from within and that we couldn't rely on external things to make us happy because they were always beyond our control. In fact, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." So instead of relying on external things to make us happy, the Stoics believed that we should focus on cultivating inner peace and contentment. And this is something that we can all do regardless of our circumstances. And speaking of circumstances, that brings me to the next point, which is the dichotomy of control. This is probably the most important principle in all of Stoicism. Basically, it means that there are some things in life that are within our control and others that are UNT, and we need to focus on the things that are within our control and let go of the ones that are UNT. For example, whether or not it rains tomorrow is beyond my control. But how I respond to the rain is up to me. I can choose to be happy and dance in the rain, or I can choose to be miserable and complain about it. The choice is up to me. And that's why the Stoics believe that we shouldn't worry about things that are beyond our control. Instead, we should focus on the things that we can control, like our thoughts and actions. Because ultimately, it's these things that determine whether we have a good day or a bad one. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't that just a cop-out? Like, why not just blame other people or circumstances for our problems? And that's a fair question. But the truth is that when we try to blame other people or circumstances for our problems, we're actually just making excuses. We're remaking excuses for why we can't achieve our goals or why we can't be happy. Marcus Aurelius says, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. So instead of blaming other people or circumstances, the Stoics believed that we should focus on what we can control and make the best of the situation. And finally, let's talk about the four main virtues of Stoicism, which are wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. These four virtues are the foundation of Stoic philosophy, and they re what the Stoics believed were the key to living a good and virtuous life. Wisdom *** is the ability to understand the nature of reality and our place in it. It's the ability to see things as they really are and not as we would like them to be. Courage is the ability to face fear and uncertainty with confidence and determination. It's the ability to do what's right even when it's difficult or dangerous. Temperance is the ability to control our desires and passions. It's the ability to be self-disciplined and not let our emotions rule us. Justice is the ability to treat others fairly and with respect. It's the ability to be honest and to uphold our agreements. These four virtues are interconnected and they work together to help us live a life of excellence. For example, we need wisdom to know what's right and wrong. We need courage to do what's right. We need temperance to control our emotions. And we need justice to treat others fairly. In fact, these four virtues are so important to Stoicism that there is an entire book called The Four Cardinal Virtues, which is considered to be one of the most important books in all of Stoic philosophy. Now, I could talk about Stoicism for hours, but I'll save it for another video. The point is that Stoicism isn't just some dry, dusty philosophy from ancient Greece. It's a way of life that can help us overcome adversity and find happiness in a world that often seems intent on making us miserable. If you want to learn more about Stoicism, I highly recommend reading a book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a collection of his personal thoughts and reflections on Stoic philosophy, and it's one of the most influential books ever written. In fact, there's even a modern application of Stoicism in psychology. Have you heard of REBT or logotherapy? Both are forms of therapy that are based on Stoic philosophy, and they've been shown to be effective in treating a variety of mental health conditions. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.